Hi everyone and welcome back to another Bork Note game video. Today's video is dedicated to alchemy stars and mistakes to avoid, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. Go into the settings right here, go into the help center. One of the first things that people probably are ignoring is not looking at this beginner's guide right here. I didn't think to do it whatsoever. Some of you are probably wondering, how do you unlock certain rooms within the Colossus? So if you do like the story 1-12 and you talk device, you can unlock the lounge. This will show you how to unlock the lounge, the rec room, cafe, and bar within the Colossus. So make sure to just like jump in here and look around. So for example, secret territory ever reset. It does reset at Thursday at 5 a.m. server time, so make sure to accomplish secret territory exploration as soon as possible. If you're wondering what can you get from secret territory, you can get upwards from like recruitment vouchers, furniture, gifts, and even more. The highest level for secret territory is going to be 5, so there's not much to it. As long as you can get secret territory stage 5, you'll definitely be good on that end. And some of you might be wondering, what's the difference between special star flares and normal star flares? Special star flares are just used for limited time recruitments, and star flares are just used for the main recruitment pool. All right, and if you're wondering, are Carlene and Uriel limited time characters? They will enter the mainstay recruitment pool and recommended recruitment rotations with the next version update after the limited server launch recruitment ends. So don't be like FOMO or YOLO pull into Carlene and Uriel. They are not disappearing. They're going to be within like the regular polls. There's so much information here, like what is the recruitment rate for 6-star Aurorians and all the things. Is there a limit to how many prisms a player can have? For example, it's 999 prisms being stamina. It even tells you what is the Loom Amber exchange rate for prisms. So make sure to just jump in here, read all the things. I'll put it on the Google spreadsheets as I always do. And like one of the things is what kind of game is like Alchemy Stars. It even tells you it's a line-based strategy RPG for the most part, and what you can do in the game. There's plenty of different things about exploration mode, resources, bonus rewards, extra chapters, spiral challenges. It doesn't talk about secret territory even though it's a limited time thing, but all the different information will be here on the beginner's guide. In case you ever have any issues like with your account and stuff, feel free to look at this document. It also tells you how to recover an account. If you're wondering like how can you like contact support, it tells you how to like contact support over here. So make sure to just look at this area in particular. You can do recharge questions, general questions, bugs, and all the different things. So just make sure to look in this section and do not make the mistake of avoiding it. And you should also be able to link your accounts here in case you were wondering. Email, there's no link right now. Another thing that I like to focus on is my Aurorians and making sure that in particular my formation is good. So you can see here I do have an electric unit or a yellow light unit as my leader. Is a phenomenal pure DPS character. If you're wondering what is a pure DPS, if you jump here into my notes, I actually listed a couple of pure DPS that I highly recommend and some team comp tips. One of the things that I want us to avoid is running a tile converter as like the main leader, unless that tile converter has abilities like hitting like the nearest enemy and dealing more damage. We'll talk about what that is, but these are like the best possible leaders that I personally feel within the game, except for someone red and black. The reason being is because they're a little bit harder to use. Nails is pretty good and has like that hit nearest enemy sort of ability that we'll cover later. But one thing that I really wanted to point out was that you can use a different elemental leader, and the reason for that is because, for example, Midgard is great at dealing damage. You always want someone who can deal damage at the very first row, and the reason for that is that the more that you can deal damage, the faster that you can clear the map. And then if I jump into the home menu right here and I go into Aurorians, the reason why Mia is so crucial for me is because she has this chain skill that lets her hit 150% damage to like the nearest enemy, whether it's either 4 enemies, 2 enemies, so on and so forth. Has this ability as well, and there's obviously more characters that can do it, but it's someone like Vice. So Vice can deal 140% damage, up to 4 enemies, similar to Mia. But the thing is Mia is just a little bit better at doing it because she deals 150% damage. She also has the ability to damage all enemies, and I'm not saying that you have to use Mia. What I'm trying to say is you want to look for characters that have these abilities that can hit multiple enemies on the field, so you can take care of like the ads, or for example you need to take care of like the boss and there's a lot of enemies scurrying about. This will be like a good DPS sort of unit to use in the very frontal leader section, because if you use someone like Miss Blanc or use someone like Klecken, you're not really maximizing like the amount of damage that you can do because their chain skills aren't as effective. Another unit that I was looking into for fire teams, Icy seemed pretty cool because her chained ability, like it lets you hit 2 nearest enemies within the 2 surrounding clusters. Just note that clusters does not mean like the nearest enemy. So by that I mean, like if you look at like someone like Benny and Kuro, it says like they will hit like the nearest enemy, but it says surrounding cluster. So cluster being, you know, something more around these lines. If it says nearest enemy like within like 2 clusters, maybe it's like a better version of like the nearest enemy like details, but I haven't ran her specifically. It's just really cool that you can see stuff like this within like the different characters. Look for that nearest enemy text and you'll be granted a very good character from what I can tell. All right, so make sure to have those as your leaders. The next thing being is if you jump into explore right here, one of the things that I don't want us to do is go into resource right here and then farming any of the equipment material early on in the game. This is by far the most wasteful like area that you could possibly be in, because equipment is not that important in the early game. If anything, you should be focusing on generating more stuff for your Colossus, or actually leveling up your main like Aurorians, right? And for example, if you're running a water team, you know, try to, you know, get more of these water EXP. But honestly, you should be upgrading your Colossus so that you can upgrade, you know, the resource center. The resource center will provide you capabilities to run harder stages. If you're wondering what that is, if you go into the home menu and then you jump into the Colossus, so the resource area is going to be right here. You can see it says resource, and then you look to facility message. It'll tell you that how you can generate more resources, and this is directly tied to the dungeon. So make sure to always upgrade this if you can. Just note that this is tied specifically to your bridge. So the farther that you can go within story, the more resources that you can unlock and the better off you will be. And some of you are also wondering, is there a way to do like a claim all for your Colossus? Don't be like me and try to hit claim on each individual one. If you click this half circle right here, you can actually do resource collection and it'll collect all of this for you at the same time. And then you can also have it so that it detects which Aurorians you need to interact with. So if you just click it right there, it doesn't do anything, but at least it'll show you where you need to go. And then let's go ahead and talk to Mia. She is a bit of a crazed waifu, but there you go. She gave us 30 Loom Amber, and I absolutely love her for being one of the best DPSs that I have within my teams. There you can also see Grongru like doing her Beat Saber thing. She's an amazing unit of herself just for like this action right here. Definitely one of my favorite characters. Now, one of the things that I want us to avoid while, you know, just running like specific stages, on boss stages specifically, I feel like you are okay to technically run more of like a defensive style, whether you want to run Zoya or Phyllis. Phyllis being another healer, but Zoya is more of a pure healer, but Phyllis is just a little bit better. If you want a better healer, you can run her. If you're wondering who Phyllis is, she's going to be like this $1 pack sort of character. So if you want to spend $1 to get a better healer, then feel free to do it. She's not like explicitly better, but she's just like a very, very like small percentage better. So don't think she's gonna like change your game just because you get her. But let's go ahead and jump into the boss section. Just note that if you do like run a support character, one of the biggest things is you are not going to have the ability to 3-star the stage. So if you do plan to use like a support character, just note that it's impossible to technically, you know, 3-star the stage. And right here, we're just gonna go for your pure DPS. Sometimes I like to run this sort of deal, and not to mention they have a level 50 Sharona, and I was really close to beating this boss. Hopefully with this Sharona, we can be able to actually defeat this and go over some gameplay tips that I wanted to provide. So one of the first things on why I like to run 2 pure DPS or more DPS for my team, this is probably better to run on like red teams, but I'm gonna run it for my water team specifically. So I'm gonna go ahead and generate some blue tiles right here, and then now we can use Vice's skill because I have unlocked her breakthrough, and this will give me the ability to maximize my damage right here. And what I like to personally do is I like to save the attacks for the very last moment, because this will allow me to generate more like hit damage. So for example, you can see it says 2.3, 2.2, 2.1, so that means my damage multiplier will be higher. You can also technically jump back to your main character in case you want to like undo like a certain chain that you were doing, or, you know, pretty much line. And in case you want to like jump back and you don't want to reset all the way to like, you know, your character, you can jump all the way back here and it'll reset your line from this point. This is something that I want us to avoid, just like trying to retrace our line, because it is technically wasted time, and gameplay wise you don't want to like really ruin your flow while you're playing the game. So right there we generated 15 combo. You shouldn't exceed anything over 15 combo, and try to stay within the strafe of like the actual enemy. That way you can, you know, deal the damage and everything. Personally, I don't like being too close to the enemy after our particular stage, stage because it means I'm going to be damaged. So like this is just general advice for specifically bosses. I want to sort of get up close and personal with this boss so I can deal more damage, but you know what? It's not really worth it. I could technically do this and I will deal more damage, but I'm only going to be dealing damage with Mia, so it's not going to be worth it on my end. So let's go ahead and just jump back here. Hopefully I don't make too much of a mistake by doing this. You see there, she attacked like in a cross section. I didn't know she was gonna do that, but it's just something that we sort of like plan ahead for. Bosses have like these weird mechanics where they always do certain things, so I like to generally stay away from the enemy. So you got hit right there, that's absolutely fine. And let's go ahead and initiate a skill. I like to initiate a skill as soon as possible for DPS types such as Mia, because for me it doesn't really matter in this mode. And then we're gonna go ahead and hit these green like little tiles because you want to use as many tiles as possible to hit the enemy boss. Obviously I didn't have any ways to increase my damage by increasing the multiplier by running around more tiles. This is like a guaranteed hit. And note here, we can actually deal some extra damage. So what I like to do when I'm teleporting is I want to maximize my tile range. So one of the things I would sometimes do was like, you know, do something like this where I'm like, oh, I get to hit like the most amount of tiles on the enemy, so I should jump here. But I like to sort of plan it out so that I can hit more tiles. So for example, I can hit these two tiles if I jump here and do a tile conversion, Miss Blanc. But if I jump to this corner, I could possibly get a better combo by drawing a different line, but I deal less damage because technically I'm missing out on two tiles, where here I can get those extra like two tiles because I hit 6 tiles here and I hit 4 tiles here. So it's up to me the way I want to do it. We're actually going to be jumping to this section even though I only hit 4 tiles of damage. But you'll see what I'm talking about as I do like my tile conversions and stuff. So let's go ahead and run Miss Blanc. And the cool thing about tile converters like Klecken is that they will never, you know, use actual tile conversions for tiles that have already been converted. Same thing with Serial. But you know, if you have like these characters, and we're gonna do the same thing again that we did earlier. So we're gonna try to draw our lines so that we can deal the max amount of range combo like so. And I know we are technically a little bit close. Oh man, I'm only 1 away from dealing, you know, like that 15 combo like damage. That's a little bit unfortunate right there. Technically I could have sat in this section right here and avoided some big damage, but we are almost like, you know, dead with this like sort of boss right here. Hopefully Sharona can deal some like huge DPS right here. 5,000, that is a chunky number. And there we go, she's in like this lightning phase. So I could wait 2 turns, but honestly I don't want to wait the 2 turns, so I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it with like Vice's skill right here. Sometimes you have to like weigh in your head whether it's worth it or not, and I know in particular for this boss there's nothing that I can do to avoid it. So we're gonna go ahead and do something like this so we can hit 2 tiles worth of damage right there. So let's do that, and then she's probably gonna do an AoE because I have lost to her before. It's one of those things, if you fight bosses, like you just have to like keep trying over and over, and then we'll show like the last tip on what you should do in case you fail for a boss. Pretty much just do ascensions and do upgrades, but I just want to do some gameplay stuff since I haven't seen too many people cover on like just simple things that you can do to maximize your gameplay, like such as, you know, focusing on like the damage tiles last. That way you generate like more hits, more combos and stuff like that. And we got some damage right there, and now we can do this. This is actually a good area for actually to do some tile conversion, so I don't want to wait for my teleport. I think it's going to be okay. So we're going to do some tile conversions right here, and then we're pretty much going to pop all the way back. Oh, actually we can deal even more damage. We'll do something fun like this, like that, and while we won't be dealing like 15, you know, tiles worth of damage, it's still quite a bit of chunky damage. And you can see like there's a clear difference in damage by the time we jump from here to like this area. It was like 600 Sharona was hitting, and over here like Sharona was dealing like 800. So it's just like one of those like small details, and thanks to like the level 50 Sharona, we managed to take down this boss. So in case like we lost that match right here, let's go ahead and skip for the sake of it. You can do some other things in order to get unstuck, because when I was like sitting in the game, one of my biggest mistakes was pounding my head against the stage over and over again. And one thing that you can actually do is jump into like resources, farm some EXP, and then after you've farmed enough EXP, jump back into your Aurorians, and then actually, you know, just go ahead and look for materials to ascend them. Ascension is by far like the biggest gap in this game. Make sure to focus on regular drop. Regular drop will give you a guaranteed way to get that specific resource that you need to farm. them. So make sure to just go in there, do your ascensions. That'll be the best way to actually farm and just progress within the game, because if you ignore ascensions, you're essentially hurting your progress, because this is the biggest boon that you can give yourself. So please avoid this mistake of ignoring ascension. But anyways, that is it for today's video. If you got anything out of this, just jump into the settings, go into this help center and just read up on some stuff, because this will give you plenty of different tips that most of the guides aren't covering yet, and sometimes it even has exclusive information that you can tap into. But if you made it this far, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 25,000 subs, we're doing a giveaway. Don't forget about your Colossus, doing some story, doing some upgrades over here. Have yourself a good one, and I will see you in the next one.